Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to our webinar this afternoon, Library Resources and Services. This is meant to be a quick orientation and overview of the online resources and services that are available to our students. And while the primary audience is meant to be our distance students and faculty, everything that we'll step through today is available to be used by all of our students and faculty and staff, regardless of whether they are distance or residential. So I'm going to step through our agenda here very quickly. We will quickly go through how to get to the library's webpage, and that will serve as our springboard and our agenda to do most of the other points here on the screen that you see. We'll step through library resources and services. As part of that, we'll do a couple of sample searches. We'll allow time for question and answer, and then I'll give a quick little advertisement for our next webinar, which is coming up next month. So to get started, I want to make sure everybody knows how to get to our library's webpage, since that is, again, the starting place, the launch pad for what we'll do today. And so there are several ways that you can get there. We do have a short, friendly URL that you can key into your browser, library.smwc.edu, and that will direct you to the library's webpage. We also have, across all the college web pages, this consistent set of ribbons and menus. And so that uppermost ribbon includes a link for offices and resources. And as you open that up, just about dead center in the middle of that next page, you'll see a link for the Rooney Library, which will direct you to the library's webpage. In every single course in Canvas, in that navigation menu on the left side of the screen, you will also see that there is a link to the library, which will direct you to our page. And then if all else fails, you can always Google SMWC Library. And the first result should be that link that brings you to the library's webpage. So now that we know how to get there, we'll go ahead and jump into this page and kind of just step through this quickly in the next few minutes to provide you, again, that overview of everything that's available to you through the library. As you might expect, at the top of our page, we do have a search box. We realize when you come to the library to engage with the library that you are likely looking for information, whether that's a known item or just information in general on a topic or a research question that you have. And so we do have that quick search box at the very top there so that you can begin to do that research that you need to do. I always caution that users approach using this particular search in one of two ways, because behind it is a very robust set of data. This is what we call our discovery search. And so you are searching across literally hundreds of databases that we have access to, immediate access to that content, but also hundreds more databases that you don't have immediate access to the content, but we can expose all of that information to you. And so kind of keep in the back of your mind that it is a very broad, very comprehensive search. And so you'll want to approach using this particular tool in one of two ways. The first that I recommend is for known item searching. If in your research, in your reading, you've come across a particular article or a particular book, and you just want to know if that is available to you through the library, then you can quickly find that out by using the quick search. And I'll demonstrate that here in just a minute. The other way that I recommend that you use the quick search is if, in the way that I'm going to show you here in a minute, the preferred way of doing your research doesn't give you enough content to be able to complete your research, then you can click on this advanced search and find additional content through the quick search. Again, realizing that what lies behind it is very comprehensive and very robust. And so if in this alternate approach I'm going to recommend, you just fall short of what you need, then you can leverage the power behind the quick search to find content. So I do want to demonstrate very quickly how to use this for known item searching. And so I'm going to look to see if the library has access to this particular book. And as the screen populates for us, I want to mention a couple of things very quickly. If, as you're using the library, you see on the results page this dark gray ribbon with this message to welcome you as a guest, always click on this link to sign in. And for me, it just goes away. At the most, you may be prompted to log in with the branded SMWC Microsoft login page, which is just your email address and the credentials for that. And then that will go away. And so what you want is to not see the gray ribbon, just click on the link and make it go away. And what that means is now you have authorized access. So you will be able to search and access all the content that you should be able to as someone who's affiliated with a college. So always, if you see that link, click on it and make it go away. Also, up in the upper right-hand corner here, you do have this My EBSCO, and sometimes you'll see that little call out that will prompt you to sign in. I do want to mention that you do not have to sign in to My EBSCO to be able to search, to be able to access content. This My EBSCO is just a personalized account that you can create on this particular interface that will enable certain extra features that would allow you to, for instance, create folders where you can save articles and other materials that you might find, to create search alerts and so on and so forth. But that is not required, again, for you to be able to come into the database, to be able to access content, and to be able to do your searching. That's just extra. So on my results page here, you'll see that this particular title shows up in a couple of different ways. We do have an ebook version of this, and so you can click on the PDF full text or the EPUB full text to gain access to that. But you also see that we have a physical copy located here within the library on campus that is available. And I want to point out to you that even if you are a distance user, you still have access to the physical materials. So what you would do is click on the link to request a copy, and that will initiate a document delivery request, which means we will go pull that physical item, check it out to you, and mail it to you. And then you would be responsible to send that back to us when you're finished with it. But I just want to emphasize that physical materials you might find through your searching are also available to you, even if you aren't within driving distance of the campus. So that quickly just demonstrates how to use the quick search for known item searching. I would always advocate, instead of doing the quick search, as you're just starting out in research, to do discipline-specific research. And by that, I mean that you would want to identify and use a database, or a few, that align with the subject area in which you're doing research. So if you are doing research in psychology, find a psychology database or two. If you're doing research in education, find and use an education database or two. That will eliminate a lot of the information noise that you would get if you were to use the quick search. And that's just a lot of things that you really don't need to see, especially as you're just beginning to research. All the databases that are available to you are you can see by clicking on that databases button. And then you can begin to filter and sort through this list in any way that you want. If you want to see human services databases, we can execute that search. And these are recommended databases for that area. Do note that as you're using this search box on this page, you're just searching the titles and the descriptions of the databases. You're not searching for content within them. You can also filter this list. So if you want to see business databases, you can apply that search and see the databases that are available to you. And you can also sort by type. So if you want to see databases that have streaming video content, you can do that as well. So just different ways that you can leverage this page to find relevant databases for you as you're doing your research. If you don't know which database to pick, I would always recommend starting with Academic Search Ultimate. It is a robust, multidisciplinary database, and you would be hard-pressed not to find something, regardless of whatever topic it is that you're researching. And for my second sample search, we're going to jump into this database, and I'm just going to remind you of some of the things that you might consider as you're constructing your search. So regardless of where you are in the process, if you just have your topic, if you have a more formalized research question, or maybe even a working thesis statement, when you're searching for content in library databases, remember to isolate those key concepts and use those to populate the search boxes rather than copying and pasting or keying in your entire research question or your entire thesis statement. So we're going to search for the benefits of social media use for teenagers. So to do that, we'll use this first search box to isolate and key in the concept of social media. I've placed it in quotation marks to reinforce to the database that I want these two words in this order to appear in my search results. The database is smart enough to know that social media is a phrase and it would likely produce relevant results. But if you find yourself in a situation where you have a long, complex phrase and you want to preserve that, use those quotation marks to retain the integrity of that term. I'm going to search for all of these terms in the titles of the article today, just to get to the most relevant resources as quickly as possible. Now I'm going to type in my population here under investigation. And as I do that, you will see that I am stringing together these words with this little particular phrase of or, and that's telling the database that any of these related terms are okay to show up in my search results. And then I'm adding the asterisk at the end of a couple of these to capture variant endings. And so this will capture teen, teens, teenager, teenagers, all of those variant endings without my having to stop, think through what those possible endings might be, and then keying those all in. And so it's just a quick time saver to get those variant endings without having to type them all in. So last of all, I want to get to the idea of the benefit. And so I'm going to type in some of these. And so you can take those suggestions that are given to you by the database or not. And so now all of these concepts or related words in some cases will have to show up in my result list for them to appear on the screen. I'm going to apply a couple of filters too. I'm going to check this box for peer reviewed, and that will get me the type of content that my professors expect me to use. I should be using academic, scholarly content. And so that peer reviewed is similar to those other terms that I just used. And essentially that just means that the content that I will see has undergone kind of an academic quality control check. And again, that's the type of material I'm expected to use in this setting. And so I can get that very easily just by checking that box. I will limit to English language content. That's just my own limitation as a researcher. And so I'll use that. And then I want current research. So I'll limit that to the past 5 years. As you look at these various limiters that you can apply, I would encourage you to lean into your assignment instructions and pay close attention to what it is that your professors are asking you to use in terms of currency, type of source, and so on and so forth, so that you can use those checkboxes and filters to ensure that you're getting the right type of material that you need for completing your assignments. So as I click my results, I've got 14. Generally, I would encourage you to try to aim between, well, try to get somewhere around 50 results. This is a little low, and I can make that broader in different ways, but for the purpose of the example, it works. But you want a decent number of results back so that you have some options as you go through and evaluate these sources. If you have too few, then you've really limited yourself too much, but you don't want to be overwhelmed with the number of results that you're getting back either. And so there's this principle that more is less. So the more terms you're using in your search string, the more limiters that you apply, the fewer results you'll get back. And generally, that's the direction you want to go. Again, you don't want to be overwhelmed. But if you find that you have just too few, 0, 1, 2, 3 results that are coming back, then you might need to adjust that in some way to, again, see more content so that you have some options. The opposite is true as well. Less is more. So the fewer terms you use, the fewer limiters you use, the more results they're going to get back. And if you find that you're getting back hundreds and hundreds of results, then you can add additional terms, add additional limiters to get more meaningful results that are fewer in number for you to sort through. So as we begin just to look through these results, we can begin to evaluate whether or not what we're seeing is on target for what our research need is. All of our terms are being highlighted for us in the results. In the titles, they're highlighted here, and then in the text below, they're bolded. And so we can see that the database is doing what we asked it to do by highlighting those terms. And sometimes you may be able to click to see more of this abstract. Other times you may have to click on the title itself, which we have to do in this case, to find the abstract. And that's just a summary of this article. And you can spend a minute or two and read through that, determine if this is really relevant to your research need or not. And if it is, then you're well on your way to meeting your assignment criteria. And if not, then you really haven't invested too much time in reading through that. Some other things I want to point out on this page that will help you. There you can see that now we can click and see that entire abstract now on this screen. The full text will be available to you just below. So here you have some options, PDF full text or online full text. My preference is always for PDF, just has the look and feel of a traditional print article, and also includes some information that may not always be available in that online full text. So as we think about citing our sources and incorporating them into our research, especially if we're using direct quotes, then we know we'll have to include with that an in-text citation. And for those direct quotes, we'll have to have the page number. Oftentimes that is missing from online full text, but is typically always present in the PDF. So that's another advantage of that. The online full text does have some accessibility features. So there are text-to-speech readers embedded within the interface for online full text. If that is something that you need or prefer, then you have that option there as well. And then when it comes time to download these for offline use, and you save the PDF, I would always encourage you to be very intentional and mindful about how you're doing that. I would always recommend perhaps creating a folder on your desktop for the particular course or project that you're working on, and then saving that PDF in a way that's meaningful to you as well. Oftentimes when you download these PDFs from databases, the name of the file will just be a string of letters and numbers. And so I would recommend maybe saving this as the author's last name and the date, so Osborne 2025. And that also kind of gives you a jump start as you think about citing these particular sources within your document that you're creating. Also, to help you with citations, we have a couple of tools over here. There's a cite button located here within this database. Most library databases will have a button or link that you can click on to generate a citation in any number of style guides. And so the default is APA, but you can select whatever it is that you need for the particular assignment that you're working on. Sometimes these citation generators are not always accurate or complete. And so it's your responsibility, if you're using these, to verify to make sure that these citations are correct. This one looks pretty good, but I can say that I looked at this one earlier, and this does contain an error for APA formatting. So you'll want to make sure that you're well informed enough to know what those errors are, and then to make those corrections as you need to. And the other thing I want to point out here is how to share this document. So this, I think, is particularly helpful for faculty who may be with us or watching this later. If you want to share a link, then you can click on the create link and use this link to be able to direct others to this particular article so that they can view it. This is just kind of best practice in online education, rather than using PDFs, where sometimes you might be required to obtain permissions. You don't have to obtain permissions to include a link within your course to documents. And so that's a quick way to embed resources within your course for students to use. So that's really all I wanted to show you with that particular search. So now I'm going to come back to our page and continue to quickly go through what is left here. So we do have research guides. So for every major, we do have a corresponding research guide. And this is essentially just a list of curated resources. So a librarian has looked at what resources are available through the library and identified appropriate databases for you to consider using, appropriate books, and then some discipline-specific information. So in business, finding company and industry information and how to do that. And then a link for citation help that aligns with your discipline. And then also a link to obtain additional help for research in that particular area. We also have a link to our archives and a link to Wood Scholars. Wood Scholars is our institutional repository for any scholarly output that is submitted to the library. We store that here and provide some information. So especially for those who are enrolled in our graduate programs, you can come in here and look at sample theses and dissertations that have been written by students as you're working through those things on your own in your own program. And then we have our Interlibrary Loans link. So if you submit a request for document delivery, that is something that's here locally, that we're sending out to you, you can manage that through that Interlibrary Loan link, but you can also manage any other requests for materials through this particular link as well. So any articles that you find in your research that aren't immediately available, you can again use the request a copy link to generate this Interlibrary Loan request, and all of that will be managed and tracked through this particular interface, and you'll get communications as well via email on those requests that you submit. We also have citation guides. So we partnered with the Writing Center to create these for APA and MLA. And essentially what we've done is leveraged the student guide that the Writing Center has produced, and we have organized that in the way that we think will be most helpful for you. So as you're thinking about documenting and creating in-text citations, you can come and look at examples. As you're creating your reference list, you can look at examples and patterns. Again, if you're using those citation generators and databases, this is one authoritative source that you can come to and check to make sure that what's being pulled and used from the database matches the standard and the expectation. We also have FAQs. So if you have a question that you think others may have asked, you can search for that here. We did have a live answer here. Well, I'll just come back here. So if you're wondering how you would link to full text content in Google Scholar, here is an explanation for how you would do that, among other questions and answers that are there. And then on our Ask Us section, these are all the different ways that you can connect with us. So you also notice down here in the right-hand corner, we have our chat bot. And so that is one way that you can connect with us and begin to get assistance. Note that as you launch the chat, that you do have an option pretty soon to be able to connect with a librarian. So if you don't want to go through the chatbot to get an answer, you will have that option to connect with a person almost immediately. You can submit a question if you have something that is maybe not an immediate need. You have maybe a day or two to receive a response, then you can use that form. You can also make a research appointment. And so you can come in here and pick a day and a time that works best for you. And then we will connect with you for up to 30 minutes to talk through any of the questions or the research needs that you might have. You can always call. We have a number where you can text message us. There's our email address. So you have those ways to connect. And then we have our social media accounts. I will also highlight our YouTube channel because we have additional videos to help you through some of the things that I mentioned in brief here today. So we do have our shorts. So just not even 60-second videos that will step through some really important things like how to find peer-reviewed articles, how to log in or access the library remotely, and so on and so forth. And so I would encourage you to take a look at those. We also have quick guides, which are 2 to 3 minute videos that will go a bit more in depth into some of those same issues. And then we have some other recordings there as well. So I would encourage you to take a look at that YouTube channel too. And then last of all, these are all the faculty who are behind everything that's happening within the library. And I mentioned this and highlight this to let you know that every single interaction that you have with us in the library, whether you're text messaging with us, emailing us, chatting with us, all of those interactions are with a degreed professional librarian. So every interaction is with someone who is well-versed in research, in the resources that are available to you, also with your assignments and your course requirements. And so we can very quickly connect you with the appropriate resource to do what it is that you may need to do. And so I would encourage you as you're working through those research-based assignments to connect with us when you might need that particular assistance. All right, so let's pick back up here. We do have a couple of minutes here for Q&A, if anyone has anything. So as you're thinking of that, I'm going to go ahead and go to the last screen, which is a little advertisement for our next webinar. And so coming up here in just a few weeks, in the beginning of October, Keila Villa, who is the Research Services Librarian for the Division of Arts and Social Sciences, will do similar to what I've done today, talk about library resources and services, but her presentation will be targeted to the departments and corresponding degree programs in the Division of Arts and Science and Social Sciences. So if you want to learn more about resources and services targeted to those particular fields, then I would encourage you to connect coming up here in a couple of weeks at 1 o'clock with Kia Lavia. All right. Are there any questions from anyone? All right, so our time is just about up. So I want to thank you again for attending, for watching later. And if you do have questions, please take advantage of all of those opportunities to be able to connect with us so that we can get you that assistance and get you well on your way. So thank you again, and be researching.